There's a number you owe right now, tonight, and you can't find it. It won't show up on a credit report. It won't land in a single envelope on a single morning. No statement adds it up for you, and no app holds the whole of it in one place. Look, it isn't hidden because someone buried it. It's hidden because of how it was built, quietly, in pieces, across a handful of screens that never talk to each other. You feel fine. The card clears. The fridge is full. And somewhere under the surface of an ordinary month, water is rising in a room you didn't know your house had. So here's the promise. In the next 20 minutes, you'll learn exactly where that room is, how it fills, and how to find the door before the water does. Hold that thought. We'll come back to that rising number, and it's bigger than you'd guess. So here's what this is. Not a lecture about a payment plan. A slow walk through the one kind of debt that grows best in the dark. The kind that feels like nothing. Right up until the week it feels like everything. By the end, you'll be able to do the single thing this whole system is built to stop you from doing. Counting. The checkout. You're buying something small. Call it $130, roughly the average for one of these. A jacket, a pair of headphones, a thing you mostly need anyway. At the screen, there's a quieter button under the price. Pay in 4. No interest. About $33 now, and the rest spread over 6 weeks. You tap it. Of course you do. Nothing about it feels like borrowing. It feels like the store did you a small kindness on a slow Tuesday. And here's the first thing nobody points at out loud. You didn't sign a loan. You didn't feel alone. But a loan is exactly what you just opened. In under 4 seconds, standing in your own kitchen with one thumb. The approval was instant. Nobody ran a hard check on you. Nobody asked what else you already owe this month. And here's the part that matters more than it sounds. Nobody could. The screen doesn't know. We'll come back to that. For now, just notice how light it felt. The lightness is the product. The thing they're actually selling isn't the jacket, and it isn't the payment plan. It's the feeling that this wasn't a purchase at all. The frame-saking one. So why does 33 feel like nothing when 130 makes you stop? Because your mind keeps 2 different drawers. One drawer is labeled Big Purchase, and when a number lands in there, something in you slows down and asks the old, useful questions. Do I need this? Can I carry it? The other drawer is the everyday one, the coffee and gas drawer, and almost nothing in there ever gets questioned. 4 payments of 33 slides straight into that second drawer. It reads like lunch, not like debt. That's the whole trick. And the truth is, it's a good one. The thing didn't sell you a payment plan. It sold you permission to skip the pause. And that pause is the only defense most people ever had. It got removed so smoothly that you thanked the machine on the way out. You won't feel it yet. You will. Because one skipped pause is harmless. The 40th skipped pause, stacked up over a year, is a habit you never once chose on purpose. Most people think they decided to borrow this much. They didn't decide anything. They just kept tapping a button that felt like a courtesy. Below the waterline. Let's slow this down and watch how the debt actually hides. Because it never hides the way you'd expect. It doesn't lie to you. It just never gets added up anywhere at all. Picture a small leak below the waterline of a boat. Above deck, everything looks dry. The trip is fine, the coffee's hot, the view is good. The water comes in slow, in the one place nobody ever looks. And the boat rides a little lower each week, with no alarm and no sound. That's this. Almost exactly. Here's the mechanism underneath the calm. By most accounts, these lenders don't report your pay-in-4 loans to the major credit bureaus, so the debt leaves no mark on your file. Good news, you think. No hit to the score. But turn it over and read the other side. If it doesn't show up for the bureaus, it doesn't show up for you either. There's no single statement quietly gathering it into one honest total. There's no system anywhere, not even the lender's own, that can see all of it at once. And a debt you can't see isn't smaller. It's just quieter. That quiet is the whole danger. You can bail out a leak you've found. You can't touch the one below the waterline you've never gone looking for. The stack year. And here's where the leak finds company. Because almost nobody who uses this carries only one. Federal researchers looking at recent years found that more than 3 in 5 borrowers were running several of these loans at the same time at some point in a year, and roughly a third had them spread across more than one company at once. Sit with the average for a second. Somewhere around 6 of these loans in a year, near $130 each, adding up to roughly $800 over 12 months, give or take, by the most recent figures. None of it enormous. That's the point. All of it invisible to the next checkout screen, which cheerfully approves you again, because it still can't see the other 5 sitting there. Now think about your own phone. You can probably name your streaming services off the top of your head, the ones you forget to cancel. You almost certainly cannot name all your active loans right now, this minute, without opening 4 separate apps to check. One of those 2 lists should be the short one. For a lot of people, it isn't. The drift. There's one more turn, and it's the quietest one of all. This used to be reserved for the big stuff. The couch, the laptop, the thing you would have financed somewhere anyway. Then it moved. By recent measures, it financed something like 6% of online sales in a single year, up from around 2% just a few years before. And more of that is now plain ordinary life. Groceries. A food delivery order at 11 at night. The week's basics, split into 4, due every 2 weeks, on a phone that mostly seems to notify you at the worst possible hour. Read that one more time, slowly. When the thing splitting your grocery bill into installments is the exact same thing that approved your headphones last month, the line between a treat and a Tuesday is simply gone. And the system is fine with it gone. A treat you might skip when money's tight. A Tuesday you can't. So the part of your spending that was once a rare, considered choice quietly becomes the floor of every single week. The squeeze then comes a week like any other, except all of it arrives at once. Here's the part they were waiting for. The jacket's 3rd payment, the headphones' 2nd, the grocery split from 2 weeks back, a 4th thing you genuinely cannot place, 4 small auto payments, all fired off on the same gray Thursday, against an account that had just enough in it until, suddenly, it didn't. The first one clears. The second one clears. The 3rd one overdraws you by a few dollars, and the fee for those few dollars is $35, which is more than the payment that set it off. Now you're late on the 4th. Not because you're broke, because nothing in the world ever told you they'd all land on the same morning. You sit there with the phone at the kitchen table at 1 in the morning, and you try to reconstruct how it happened, and you can't. Not fully. Because the full picture was never kept anywhere you could reach it. And here's the thing, that was never an accident. The scatter is the design. A single bill you can read, you can plan around. A dozen fragments across a dozen weeks, you just absorb, quietly, until a Thursday like this one does the math you refuse to. The morning after, the next morning, nothing in the room has changed. The number hasn't moved. But something in how you see it has. You realize the late payment wasn't the failure. It was just the moment the leak finally reached a level you could feel. And you're not alone in that water. The share of users falling behind has been climbing, not falling, in the surveys that track it. From roughly 1 in 6 a couple of years ago, toward closer to 1 in 4, more recently, with the youngest borrowers slipping the most. Take that loosely, because the surveys disagree on the exact figure. But the direction is steady, and the direction is the story. So the friendly, frictionless, interest-free thing that was supposed to make money easier is, for a growing crowd, the thing quietly making a normal month harder to survive. That's not a glitch in the model. For the people it lands on, that drift is the model working exactly as built. Why smart people still fall in now? The easy story here is that the people who do this are just careless. That story is wrong. And it's lazy, and you should drop it. Look at who actually leans on this the hardest. By the federal data, most users carry lower credit scores, the kind that get turned away from a regular card or handed a brutal interest rate. So for a great many people, this isn't a clever shortcut around better options. It's the only door anyone left open. And that changes everything about how you're allowed to judge it. The system didn't trick fools. It built a smooth, warm, frictionless ramp and pointed it straight at the people with the least room to absorb one bad week. That isn't cruelty, exactly. In a way, it's worse. It's indifference at the scale of millions, And at that scale, indifference and cruelty start to look the same from the seat you're sitting in. So let go of the shame. None of this is a moral failing of yours. It's a structure. And the good news about a structure is that once you can actually see it, you can step around it. The way out. So here's the door, and it's smaller than the whole problem feels. This entire trap runs on one ingredient: scatter. It survives only as long as the pieces stay apart. So you do the one boring act it was built to prevent. You drag the pieces into a single place. Tonight, one sheet of paper, or one note on the phone. Nothing fancier than that. Every active plan, what's left on each, the exact date each one fires. That's the whole exercise. The second they sit together in one honest column, the spell breaks, because now there's a real number. And for the first time, you can see the waterline with your own eyes. From there, it gets ordinary fast. You stop opening a new one until that column shrinks. You set one reminder, 2 days ahead of the heaviest week. You start treating the total like the loan it always quietly was, instead of the lunch it pretended to be. This isn't advice built around your exact life, and your situation holds details I'll never see. But the first move is the same for almost everyone. Count them. The whole model bet that you never would, so prove the bet wrong. Somewhere right now, someone is sitting up at 11 at night with 4 apps open, trying to remember how many of these they have running. The number on each screen is small. Together it feels like a tide they can't name. They're not reckless, and they're not behind in the way they fear. They just never once had the pieces in the same place, and nobody ever told them the scatter was the entire point. They'll close the apps tonight and promise themselves they'll sort it tomorrow, the way they have a dozen quiet times before. Most people stop right there. A few don't. A few will do the small, unglamorous thing in the morning. One sheet, one column, one honest total. And that's the whole turn. Not more money, just light. Finally let into the one room of the house that was filling in the dark. You're one of 2 people watching this. The one who closes the tab, and the one who writes the list before bed. The number doesn't decide which one you are. You do, in the next 12 hours, in something so small it won't even feel like a choice. Make it anyway. If this way of counting things is worth your time, stay close. There's a number worth finding, hidden in every one of these.